it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to a Friday on the channel, which means it's live album ranking day, and today we've got a viewer's request, and this one's for Mick in California, and he asked me to do Lynyrd Skynyrd live albums. Now I've held back. I wanted to do the studio album first, so we did that a few weeks ago, so I thought we'll just do them today. I'm not going to say too much because we all love the band. Well, most of us do. They're one of my favourite American bands, my favourite Southern rock band. Lots of great people through the band. Leon Wilkinson, Billy Powell, Ed King, Artemis Pyle. Obviously we lost Ronnie, Stevie and Cassie in that terrible plane crash. Johnny Van Zandt come reform the band. Okay, and there's no original members now because they've all sadly passed on. But their music is still kept going, and I know they're still performing today, and they've got nothing wrong with that because the music of Lynyrd Skynyrd is just fantastic. So they've released 13 albums of live material, which is pretty good. So we're going to crack on. So coming in at number 13 is an album from 2015, and it is called One More for the Fans. It was recorded at the Fox Theatre in Atlanta in 2014. So we've got Johnny Van Zandt on lead vocals, Gary Rossington guitars, Ricky Medlock on guitar, Mark Majka, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Johnny Colt on the bass, Michael Cartellone on the drums, and Peter Keys on the keys. And this is an album where you get guests coming on singing songs by the band. So Randy Houser comes on and sings Risky Rock-a-Roller. Robert Randolph's and Jimmy Hill do You Got the Right. Aaron Lewis comes and does a bit of Saturday Night Special. Blackberry Smoke working for the MCA. OAR come and do Don't Ask Me No Questions. Cheap Trick do a great version of Give Me Back My Bullets. Mo and John Hyatt do the Ballad of Curtis Lowe. Highlight of the album is these two tracks. First one, Government Mule, do Simple Man, and they do a great version of that. Then Warren Haynes does That Smell, and he sings it brilliant. Jamie Johnson does Four Walls of Ralford. Jason Isbell does I Know a Little. It's not a bad version. Peter Frampton does a great version of Call Me the Breeze. Suits Peter Frampton down to the ground, that song. Trace Atkins, What's Your Name? Charlie Daniels comes out with Donny Van Zandt, and they do Down South Junkin'. And then a band called Alabama come out and do Gimme Three Steps. Greg Allman, who sort of knows them very well, comes out and does Tuesday's Gone, does a great version. Then the Skynyrd themselves do Travelling Man, and then the ensemble comes out and does Free Bird and Sweet Home Alabama. And, you know, it's an album I haven't got. It's quite a pleasant album. I've seen clips of the DVD as well, and it looks like they're having a bit of fun, which is okay. So I'm going to give that one an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 12, we have an live album from 1988, and it was recorded during the Lynyrd Skynyrd tribute tour, and this live concerts were the 10-year anniversary to the tribute to the members of the band who died in the 1977 plane crash, and the album was called Southern by the Grace of God. So the band that played on here was Johnny Van Zandt, Gary Rossington, Ed King, Randall Hall, Leon Wilkinson, Billy Powell, Artemis Pyle, Chris Pyle helped on some percussion, and with the Honkettes, they added Carol Bristow and Dale Krantz Rossington in honour of the bands. We had special appearance by Ronnie Eades, who did the Swans, and Don Taylor. Lacey Van Zandt, that's Ronnie and Johnny's dad, did the Master of Ceremonies, and Charlie Daniels came out and did the vocals on Sweet Home Alabama, played the fiddle on Call Me the Breeze. We had Steve Morse from Deep Purple doing some guitar on Give Me Back My Bullets. Toy Cadwell and Jeff Carloley on Give Me the Breeze. Donny Van Zandt did some vocals as well. So we had Lacey come out and introduce the band. And then I went straight into working for the MCA. Pretty cool track to start the proceedings from Second Helping. Then we get 2 tracks from Street Survivors. That Smell, brilliant track. And then we get Steve Gaines' Little Song I Know a Little, which is pretty cool. Then we have Coming Home, which is on that album, Lynyrd Skynyrd's First and Last, which is a pretty good album. Then we go back to Street Survivors for a bit of You've Got That Right. What's Your Name? Just classic songs. Give Me Back My Bullets. Just love that. Then we have a bit of Swamp Music from Second Helping. Cool track. Call Me the Breeze from Second Helping. Sweet Home Alabama and a bit of Freebird just to finish the concert. Solid track on here. The playing, I think, it's good, but there's a lot of nerves in Johnny's voice. And that's very, very understandable. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 11, we have an album that was released in 2010. And it's Live from Freedom Hall. And it was the last album that Iain Evans on bass and Billy Powell played on before they sadly passed away. So we've got Gary, Ricky Medlock, Michael Cartellone, Iain Evans, Mark Jacob, got Dale Krantz Rossington and Carol Trace, and Steve Traum does some harmonica on this. So this opens up with a track written by Leon Wilkerson and Ronnie Van Zandt called Travelling Man. It's a non-album song. And the first time you heard this on an album was actually another live album, which we'll talk about later. And it did appear on another album, and where they sort of, I can't remember which one now, but they had Ronnie and Johnny singing it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Working from one of the new albums, Edge of Forever, which is a pretty cool track. Then we have a couple of tracks from Street Survivors, What's Your Name and That Smell. Simple Man from the debut album, I love that song. Apparently it's Johnny's favourite one to sing. Then we have Down South Junkin' from that Skynyrd's First and Last. Love that. It's only a short bit, but I love that song. The Needle and the Spoon from Second Helping, one of the great songs on there. And we stay with Second Helping for the Ballad of Curtis Lowe. And we Zon Conter, Gimme Back My Bullets. Great track that is. Back to the debut for a bit of Tuesday's Gone. Then we popped along to Vicious Cycle to hear a bit of Red, White and Blue. Then we have another track from the debut album, Pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, Give Me 3 Steps. Great track, one of Ronnie's greatest. Call Me the Breeze. And then we have, of course, Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. Doesn't matter how many times you hear Freebird live, it is a killer. Everyone plays well on that. It's a solid album, as sadly Billy's and Ian's last contributions for the band, but what a way to go out. And I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 10, we have album, and it was a DVD as well. The DVD is pretty cool. It was recorded in 2003 in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was the Vicious Cycle tour. And Lynyrd Skynyrd Live. Live is spelled L-Y-V-E. So we've got Johnny, Gary, Billy, Ricky, and Huey Tomlinson's on guitar on that one. Iain Evans on the bass, Michael on the drums, Dale Krantz Rossington and Carol Chase doing the backing vocals. This opens up with a track from the Vicious Cycle album, which is there. This was the tour. That's How I Like It. It's a good opening track, written by the band. It's a really strong track. I like that one. Then we go back to some classic stuff. What's Your Name? Always a fan's favourite from Street Survivors. Stevie Gainson's great, I Know a Little. Then we go to the new album at the time again, Vicious Cycle, for Pick 'Em Up. The wonderful Simple Man. Johnny always sings that with heart. Must remind him of his brother. Then we have a bit of That Smell. Red, White and Blue again. Down South Junkin. Cool little bit again. Gimme Back My Bullets. Always a firm favourite. Then we have a bit of Double Trouble from Gimme Back My Bullets. A little bit of that. And then a bit of the Ballad of Curtis Lowe. Tuesday's Gone. Then from the first album, Mississippi Kicked. I love that song. But Working from the Edge of Ever, Give Me Three Steps, just some classic stuff. Call Me the Breeze, Sweet Home Alabama, and then they put the Wave from Vicious Cycle, and then we end with Freebird again. Very good album. I do like the Vicious Cycle album. There's some good tracks on, but they're even better live. So I'm going to go that with an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, coming in at number 9, we have an album from 2018, and it's called Live in Atlantic City, and this features some guests. So joining Johnny, Gary, Ricky, Mark, Iain, Michael and Billy is Three Doors Down, a band, Hank Williams Jr. and Bo Rice. This one's cranked straight in for a bit of working for the MCA. Red, White and Blue from Vicious Cycle. Gimme Three Steps. Then we have a Bobo Rice number called The Real Thing, which is pretty cool. Bit of Gimme Back My Bullets. Down South Junkin, always great to hear that. Born to Boogie, which is Hank Williams Jr. song. Bit of That Smell. Then Three Doors Down, come on and do Kryptonite. Saturday Night Special from Nothing Fancy. Pretty cool. Then we have 2 tracks from Second Helping, Call Me the Breeze and Sweet Home Alabama, before we go into another ball-breaking version of Freebird. Very good album. It's nice to have guests on there, and Hank Williams Jr. is a pretty good singer, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 8, I haven't put the year up as usual, but this is Southern Nights, and it was recorded in various locations in the mid-90s in the United States. Don't give where they are, but we've got Johnny Van Zandt on vocals, Leon Wilson doing the bass, Dale Krantz Rossington backing vocals, Debbie Davis Estes on backing vocals, Ed King, Gary Rossington, Mike Estes play guitars, drums his own Hale, and keyboards of course Billy Powell. So we open up with a bit of Working from the MCA, which is always pretty cool. I Ain't the One, great track from that debut album. Bit of Saturday Night Special, Down South Junkin, Gimme Back My Bullets, Double Trouble. Then we have a song called Devil in the Bottle. Now this is written by Bobby David and recorded by T.G. Shepherds and Jimmy Rogers have done it, and it's T for Texas. Pretty great track, and they do a great version of that. Then 2 tracks from Street Survivors, What's Your Name and That Smell. The wonderful Simple Man, Give Me Three Steps, Sweet Home Alabama, and Freebird of course, couldn't have it. Another flawless album. So many of the classic members on here. It's a great little album, bit nostalgic. The only thing is the sound's a little bit different in places because different years and that, but it's still a good listen. I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in number 7. This is an album from 1997, and it's called Live from Steel Town. So, of course, it was recorded in Pittsburgh. It was recorded on the 15th of July, 1997. So the band at the time was Johnny Van Zandt, Gary Rossington, Leon Wilkinson, Huey Thomason, Ricky Medlock, Billy Powell, Owen Hale, Dale Krantz Rossington doing the backing vocals with Carol Chase. First up track, we actually play a track off the album 20, which is pretty good. We Ain't Much Different. Great track, and it's a great song to open this gig with. Go straight into a bit of Saturday Night Special. Nothing wrong with that. What's Your Name? Always a favourite. And then we have a track from Nothing Fancy that they don't do very often, On the Hunt. I love that song, and it's really good live. Then we've got You've Got That Right from Street Survivors. Great little track that is. Then we have another track from 20, Voodoo Lake. I love that track. Then we go back to a classic, That Smell, of course. Then we have another track from 20, Bring It On, Simple Man, I Know a Little. Bernice from 20, that's pretty good live. Give Me 3 Steps. Sweet Home Alabama. Travelling Man, Freebird. And then what you get on here, you get 2 interviews with the band at the time, which are really good. It looks like they're really having a good time. It's a great added bonus to the album. Fantastic music. The radio interviews are brilliant. I love them interviews. Find lots of things out. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6. Now this is an album from 2015. And basically it's pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, the second helping live. It was recorded in Jacksonville, their hometown, at the Florida Theatre. Your performers on this was Johnny Van Zant, Gary Rossington, Ricky Medlock, Mark Majaka, Johnny Colt on the bass, Michael Cartellone on the drums, Peter Keys on the keyboards. So basically you get their first 2 albums. So that's I Ain't the One, Tuesday's Gone, Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Things Going On, The Mississippi Kid, Poison Whiskey, Freebird. Then we get from Second Helping, Sweet Home Alabama, I Need You, Don't Ask Me Questions, Working for the MCA, The Ballad of Curtis Lowe, Swamp Music, The Needle and the Spoon, and Call Me the Breeze. Okay, I think Johnny does a great verse thing. It's a great album. I find it nice that they've done these 2 albums. They give these songs justice to this band, and I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 5. Now this is an album that the tour started in 2018, but due to COVID, it was they didn't finish until 2021, and it's called The Last of the Street Farewell Survival Tour. This was actually, it doesn't say where this was recorded, and this was the last Gary Rossington involvement with any material from Lynyrd Skynyrd. So we've got Johnny, Gary, Ricky and Mark on guitars, Keith Christopher's on bass now, and Michael and Peter drums and keyboards. Opens up with a track from God and Guns, Skynyrd Nation. Now I love this track, one of the best of the newer tracks, I think. Working from the MCA classics, What's Your Name, Double Trouble, a bit of Travelling Man, That Smell from Street Survivors, I Know a Little, Whiskey Rock-a-Roller, which they don't do very often, and it's a great track from Nothing Fancy, Saturday Night Special, The Ballad of Curtis Lowe's on here, Tuesday's Gone, Don't Ask Me No Question, The Wonderful Simple Man, Give Me 3 Steps, Call Me the Breeze, Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. Very solid album. It was they covered a lot of that classic years on this. I like this. I just think it's a great live album. Regardless of who's been in the band, it's a tribute to these former members that are no longer with us. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.6. Okay, now we're coming into some classics. Of course we are. We're not. The top 4 are all just classics. So this is an album from 2021, but it was actually recorded at Knebworth Park in 1976, and it's Lynyrd Skynyrd at Knebworth. So on here we, of course, it's just full of classic members of the band: Ronnie Van Zant, Billy Powell, Steve Gaines, Gary Rossington, Armitage Pyle, Leon Wilkinson, and the Honkettes, Cassie Gaines, Jojo Billingsley, and Leslie Hawkins. Working for the MCA, I Ain't the One, Saturday Night Special, Searching for Gimme Back My Bullets, Whiskey Roller for Nothing Fancy, A Bit of Travelling Man, Gimme 3 Steps, Call Me the Breeze, Jimmy Rogers Number T for Texas, Sweet Home Alabama, and Freebird. They were on the bill that Rolling Stones headlined this one. Now the thing with Knebworth concerts, it's the way that it's shaped. The sound doesn't come across sometimes. It's sort of I don't know if anyone's been to Knebworth. It's sort of like this. It's naturally great for watching stuff, but the sound just gets lost in it. If the wind's in the wrong direction, it really knackers it basically. But I still like this because this is probably one of the last appearances in the UK. Full of nostalgia, some great playing on it, and I've seen clips of it and it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, coming in at number 3. This was released in 2009, but it was actually recorded in Cardiff in 1975, and it's the Authorized Bootleg Lynyrd Skynyrd Live, Cardiff Capitol Theatre. So on here we've got Leon Wilkinson, Artemis Pyle, Alan Collins and Gary Rossington doing the guitars, Billy Powell on the keyboards, and Ronnie Van Zant. Opens up with Double Trouble, absolutely killer version of that. I Ain't the One, just brilliant stuff. The Needle and the Spoon from Second Helping, Saturday Night Special, Gimme 3 Steps, Whiskey Rock-a-Roller, Call Me the Breeze, Sweet Home Alabama, and Freebird. Very short album, but the sound on it's terrific. It's a raw. It's just nice to have a great live album from this band. Ronnie sounds great on this, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, number 2, another album from 2009, and it's an Authorized bootleg, and this is from the legendary Winterland in San Francisco. So on this one, we've got the Honkettes. So we've got Cassie Gaines, Jojo Billingsley, Leslie Hawkins, and the band was Leon Wilkinson, Artemis Pyle, Alan Collins, Gary Rossington, Ronnie Van Zant, and Billy Powell. Opens up with a great track from Gimme Back My Bullets, Cry for the Bad Man. I just love that. What an opening track. Saturday Night Special, Surging. I've got the same old blues from Gimme Back My Bullets. This was the album that was out at the time. Gimme Back My Bullets itself. Tuesday's Gone, Needle and the Spoon, and 3 Steps, and Call Me the Breeze. Sweet Home Alabama, of course, and Freebird. I think this is just a little bit better sound-wise than the Cardiff one. I do love it though. Absolutely killer album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay then, my number 1, it's an album that we had in the Live Battles, remember. Recorded in 1976 at the Fox Theatre, Atlanta, and it's the brilliant One More From the Road. The lineup: Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, Alan Collins, Gary Rossington, Leon Wilkinson, Artemis Pyle, Billy Powell, and Jojo Billingsley, Cassie Gaines, and Leslie Hawkins. An absolute killer lineup of the band, one of the best lineups of the band. Opens up, of course, with the brilliant Working from the MCA from Second Helping, I Ain't the One, Searching from Gimme Back My Bullets. Love that track. Tuesday's Gone, Saturday Night Special, Travelling Man. First time this actually appeared on an album. That song. Whiskey a Roller from Nothing Fancy. Sweet Home Alabama. Great version of that on here. Give Me 3 Steps. Brilliant. Call Me the Breeze. T for Texas, the Jimmy Rogers song. Needle in the Spoon. And then they do a version of Robert Johnson's Crossroads. Great track. And then we get probably the best version ever of Freebird. It's an amazing version. My favourite version of this song, without a doubt, and it's a great way to end this album. This is a brilliant album. It's full of atmosphere, and it captured that classic lineup before the tragic accident. A great selection of tracks from the band. Everybody's on fire, and this is one of my favourite live Southern rock albums ever. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.5. So there we go, a little bit of live Lynyrd Skynyrd. I do love this band. This is a bit of an epic one because you'll see why in the bloopers at Christmas. had a few demons in the system this morning, but we got this one done. So we got a new album that I forgot to review when it came out, and that's a live album, and it's the last album from Gordon Lightfoot. So I'll be doing a review of that next. So if you like Gordon Lightfoot, that's coming up very soon. So we'll see you later. Bye for now.